Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Mood616 here, back in the house for another CD update. It's been a while since I did a couple of these. I'll probably just label this part 3 of like so many more to come, because it's pretty much everything I've picked up in like the last couple years, like 3 years since I stopped doing regular updates. And it's gotten out of control. There's hundreds and hundreds of albums to update. I did a couple, but then my progress basically digressed because I ended up buying a lot more that just filled in that void, and I'm right back to where I started, but way behind now. So I'm going to start knocking these out since kind of cooped up in the house right now with this whole coronavirus going on. I hope everyone's staying healthy and safe out there. Like where I am, it's not too bad and stuff like that, but just taking the precautionaries, you know what I'm saying? But before I get into just the randomness of the update, I'm going to actually update a couple albums that I had that weren't in my 2019 year haul and my top 50s video. These are the ones that pretty much just had the pictures because I hadn't received the albums in the mail yet. So, here, first up, we'll start with this. I said I wasn't going to get into vinyl, but the Blabbermouth Ain't Backing Down album, which made my top 50. Fantastic record. There actually is a CD release of this somewhere too. Somebody else put it out, but dope album right there. A couple of the other 2019 albums that were in my top 50 was Black Moon's Rise of the Moon, which I really enjoyed. I know a lot of people are a little bit indifferent on it, but I think it's awesome. We got the 38 Special Big Ghost Limited, A Bullet for Every Heathen album. Really enjoyed this one. Another one that was obviously in my top 50. The Sean Price Little Fame album. So happy to finally get this. Miss Sean Price every day. New Rock Marciano album, another one that was in my top 50. Great album. Really enjoyed the shit out of this. He's getting a little bit better with his mixing, which is a good thing. Then we got Your Old Droog's Jewelry album, which is phenomenal. It was like top 5 for me. All 3 of his albums from 2019 made my top 50 list. I think all 3 were actually in the top 20. Your Old Droog just killed last year. Killed it, man. Dope production on there. A couple 38 Special records that I got in also, which is Raw, which I think was pretty dope. Then we got the Trust tape. This is more of like a compilation, kind of like a group effort type thing, with Class Murder, Benny the Butcher, Che Noir, and 38 Special himself. So kind of cool. And then we got the Atmosphere Whenever album, which I actually just seen Atmosphere play in Vancouver a few weeks back, and the show was amazing. He did play some new stuff, but he played a lot of older stuff, which I was quite surprised. Kind of spanning his whole career, right from the beginning to the end. It was kind of crazy. But so that's a quick little 2019 roundup. I'm just trying to get off. So we'll get into the randomness here. Just a stack of, I don't know how many I grabbed. I think I might have grabbed 25. I think I was just going to do 25 at a time. So hopefully that'll start to knock them off and shit like that. But let's get into this. First up here, we got the Afros from 1990, Kickin' Afrolistics. This is a group that was actually developed by Jam Master Jay. That I think this might have been the first group that he put on the Jam Master Jay Records label. Pretty fun stuff, man. It's just a fun ass record. I know. This was actually featuring DJ Hurricane, who went on to be like the Beastie Boys DJ, regular DJ and stuff like that. And Hurricane, he did a couple albums in the 90s. Need Some Elbow Room. I love that track. But this was the group that Jam Master Jay actually produced this whole album. He wasn't part of the group, developed them, and they just put out the one album, which is kind of a shame. But Feel It was the first single off this album. Fun stuff. It's just a fun ass record. Like that 1990s sound. It just kind of fits right in there. It's just a fun overall album. Really good stuff. So the Afros, Kickin' Afrolistics. Good shit. Next up here, we got the Sebi Tones. This is the reissue to this album, 50/50 Where It Counts. The original release came out in 1998. This is the reissue in 2000. Good luck finding a copy of the original release from 1998. Apparently, it's just like impossible to find. I actually found this when I was in Halifax. Of course, $1.65 and 6'2" making up Sebi Tones. Are from Halifax, and I actually found this in a pawn shop with my buddy, who's Jason. Big shout out to Jason from Disposable Arts podcast. who took me around a couple places, and we went, music hunting and shit like that. And I found this in there. It was actually behind the till, and it was only $20, man. I was very surprised at the price because it is very hard and rare to find. So, but this is some really dope Canadian underground hip hop from '98, man. This is when Buck65 was still doing the hip hop shit, man. I know in the last like 10, 12 years he's gone really strange. He's done very experimental type records and stuff, which is just really not my taste. I don't even understand half the shit that he does. It just makes no sense to me. But the first bunch of albums that he put out was really cool. So, but Sevitones, highly recommend that. If you can find a copy of that, man, definitely peep it out. It's pretty dope shit. Next up here, we got Mony Love's. This is her second album. Mony Love in a Word or Two. Yeah, this is her second album. This one was actually all produced by pretty much Marley Marl. I know K Def did a track on here. I think Prince actually produced 2 tracks on here. Oh, actually, it even has producers on the back. Yeah, so Prince has actually produced 2 tracks on here. It's mostly done by Marley Marl. Fun record, man. Of course, Mony Love being from the native tongues and shit like that. But it's a fun record, man. I know a lot of people aren't into female MCs. Like my boy Jason can't stand female MCs. But I actually really enjoy this, man. It's kind of fun, but... yeah, good production though. Really, really good production on that from 1990. Next up here is DJ Drez's The Capture of Sound album, released on Battle Axe Records in 2003. I want to say 2003. I think this came out. Sorry about the glare. Again, I know, Jason, you're going to say you come here for the glare, but it's impossible to get rid of the glare. It's just impossible, but I do my best. It's kind of a mixed bag. It's got features on it. It's all produced by DJ Drez. It's got features from Main Flow on here, Abstract Rude, who else is on here? Medusa, Eli and the Grouch, AC Alone, Black Hole's on here, which actually just picked up the Black Hole record, which totally just came and went from Dust and Dope Recordings. Wise Dome's on here. Beat-wise, it's interesting. It's all over the place. It's got like some kind of Jamaican sounds, and it's got shit all over the place. It's very jarring to listen to, because from song to like interlude to like instrumental to like song, it's all over the place, but it's not very cohesive, but it's okay. I think you could pull some tracks out of here and put on mixes and shit, but it's okay. It's not bad. 8 Ball and MJG on the Outside Looking In from 1994. What can I say, man? This is, early Suave House stuff, 8 Ball and MJG. I love this record, man. This is when 8 Ball and MJG sounded very West Coast. Very, very influenced by that West Coast sound and shit like that. I think Players Night Out was the first single on this album, but all around just an incredibly dope album, man. I think 8 Ball and MJG are like, their contrast between the vocals is so dope, man. Like, I'm a big 8 Ball fan. I love 8 Ball. He's a great storyteller. He's got a great voice. MJG is awesome too. Whole album just comes together, but y'all know, man, if you're watching this shit, man, you know about 8 Ball and MJG. I always hated that it says featuring MC Breed on there. It makes it sound like he's actually on the album, but I know a lot of albums from this time period would put their features as like a main attraction on the album cover and shit, but yeah, that's right, MC Breed isn't on a track on here. Rest in peace to MC Breed. But yeah, awesome album. Finally got a copy of that. I never actually owned a copy of that, so but then we got Chivalrings, Wu-Tang affiliate. This album came out in 2007. Yeah, from 2007. I gotta say, man, this album right here sounds very Wu-Tang-ish, man. Like, the production is amazing. Chivalrings does a lot of the production on himself. The RZA does a couple tracks. Fourth Disciple does a couple songs. True Master, Mathematics, and Bronze Nazareth, I think, all do just maybe one track a piece on here. It's mostly done by Chivalrings, but it's featuring all the suspects on here. You know, Raekwon, Ghostface Kill, the RZA, the Jizza, Kill Army's on here. 60-Second Assassin, Ninth Prince is on here, Method Man, so on and so on. So it's a very Wu-Tang studded filled album, released on Baby Grande, but it actually sounds very Wu-Tang-ish, which is surprising for 2007, because a lot of these albums were kind of straying away from that classic kind of Wu-Tang sound. A lot of samples, kung fu samples and things like that, but it's a really dope album. I know a lot of people don't like Chivalrings because how he's associated with that kind of $1 million album and just all the shenanigans that he's pulled over time and stuff like that. Just a lot of people don't trust him, and basically, yeah, I don't really know the whole story. I know bits and pieces of it, but I know a lot of people don't trust this guy, what happened with that whole story and shit like that. But he's actually an MC from Holland. So I think he was like the very first European Wu-Tang affiliate MC to come out. But I will say, regardless of his person, you know, I'm not really a big fan of what I've read and what I know about him either. But album-wise, I'll judge it on that. And it's pretty good, man. It's actually really dope. So I highly recommend that one, actually. Big Crit's Forever and a Day. Now, if you're wondering why, like, these albums are just totally picked random. Like, I have so many albums to update. I literally just grabbed like the first 25 off the shelf, so that's why everything's like super random in here. But anyways, I digress. Big Crit for Forever and a Day. This is like, you know, considered to still be a mixtape. I know Big Crit had put out a couple, like Crit Was Here and Return of Forever and things like that. But all those things that kind of play out like albums anyways. I know his first album came out, I think it was Live from the Underground, which actually came out the same year as this in 2012. But all these things, all these mixtapes play out like albums to me. Crit is fucking dope, man. Like, he is just an amazing producer. He's a dope rhymer. He just has really interesting sounding albums, and he just really knows hip hop, man. I really enjoy this guy, man. So this is really dope. I can't remember. At first, I think this actually was just released digitally only, and then it got physical copies and stuff. But finally got around to getting a copy of this a couple years ago. But I love me some Crit. Dope shit. I think he's from Mississippi. I want to say he's actually from Mississippi. So then we got this Coast to Coast compilation. This was just a random find. I'd never even seen this before. This one came out, I think, in 2000. I want to say in the year 2000. Doesn't have a date on here, of course. It's just a compilation of songs. Like, it's got Cannibal Ox on here, song Iron Galaxy, Mr. Lift's on here. But the cool thing about this Coast to Coast, it does have a theme to it. It's, you know, people representing different areas. Because you got Obscure Disorder on here, featuring Nonfiction, and her group from Quebec. Or from Montreal. Which is Quebec. But yeah, so they're from Montreal. I got Atmosphere on here, Crying Freeman, who's actually from Chicago. Now, if you follow me and my other podcast, 22 Shots, Moves, and Horror, you know I have a co-host. His name is Jeremy Freeman, and he's from Chicago, and he cries a lot. And there's an MC on here called Crying Freeman from Chicago. It's literally the funniest shit ever. I couldn't believe that when I saw that. But Mass Influenced on here from Atlanta, The Solution, Them, A-Tracks on here, MC Paul Barman from New Jersey. Kind of an interesting compilation. You guys can make out if that's going to focus at all. There it is. But interesting. I think I picked it up for $1. So I always, if I come across compilations and stuff that I've never heard of or don't own it, should always grab them. Nefertiti. This is a fucking insanely dope album. I love the production on here. It's mostly handled by DJ Pooh. But Diamond D does a couple tracks on here. Gru actually produces a track, and scratches are done by Primo. It's a very conscious, kind of very cohesive album, having that type of East Coast production into this West Coast MC. But she's like a combination of like East and West, and oh man, this is honestly one of my favorite female albums of all time, man. She comes hard on this, but it's very conscious. She's always got some shit to say, and she's not like annoying. You know, the beats hold up really good. DJ Pooh's beats actually are quite different, because this album was done in 1994. I know he produced for Snoop. I think would have been Dogfather would have been what, 96 that album came, or was it 95? I can't remember. 95, 96 Dogfather dropped in. That production is so different compared to this, man. A couple years earlier, way different production. Diamond D's production fits in great, but I was shocked even to see Gru producing a track on here, and he actually features on it also, which I thought was really interesting. But yeah, this is a great album, man. I'd never checked this out until, holy man, that glare is horrible. I'd never checked this album out until, I don't know, whenever I picked this up a year or two ago or something like that, and I was very shocked at how good this was. So Nefertiti, man, that's some good shit right there. Then we got the Pass the Mic Posse album. I remember seeing this around when it came out, 1996 on Priority. I remember seeing this back in the day. Never picked it up. The thing was, I had most of the songs that were actually on this compilation, but I love Posse Cuts. I'm a huge Posse Cut fan, and I just couldn't pass this up. I saw it for like $1, and I was like, okay, gotta grab it. But it's got the Symphony Volume 1 on here, DWICK, Buddy Remix, you know, Knick Knack Paddywhack, Fushnickens Last Schmooze on here, Showbiz and AG Bounce to This. There's a couple like almost collabo songs on here, like Ladies First with Queen Latifah and Mony Love, which is more or less just a you know. But then you got the real positive tracks like the grand finale, which is DOC and NWA and stuff like that. Hell to Skelter, OGC, La Fleur, La Flash, Goshka Part 2 on here. That's kind of cool. Westside Slaughterhouse, Mac 10, which is basically just Westside Connection. But yeah, no, it's cool, man. I've cool to come across this, you know, just randomly out in the wild. So yeah, pass the mic, the Posse album. Can't go wrong. Tough Crew, Danger Zone, 1988. You know, it's funny. I actually like the Tough Crew's album after this one better than this one. Even though I enjoy this album, man. I believe, what was the first single on here? My Part of Town? Was My Part of Town the single off here? I can't remember. But yeah, you know, it's a dope album. It's very 88 sounding. You know, it doesn't really... I mean, I like this album. I really do like this album. I just actually like the the Wreck Shop album better. But you know, it's a Tough Crew, man. I actually like some of the EP stuff that they did just before this year before. But some pretty dope Philly hip hop though, man. Danger Zone. Picked that one up a couple years ago too. Moving along, man, we got some Planet Asia, the grand opening. This is Planet Asia's third album, I want to say. Probably third album, 2004. Yeah, third or fourth album. It's Planet Asia, man. He always comes correct for me, man. Still doing it so hard these days, man. He's dropping projects left and right. He's so hard to keep up with. It's like ridiculous, man. I know he's got production from like Cutmaster Kurt on here. I know Evidence did some stuff. Architect. Jake One. Super Dave West, I think, was on here also. Couple of features. Ghostface Killah. Yeah. But again, holy man, that fucking glare is so bad. I really apologize for that. There's just nothing I can do. Grand opening. Dope album, though. I really enjoy this, man. I mean, honestly, Planet Asia's been one of those guys that's kind of stayed, like, he's kind of stayed on this plane his whole career, but he seems to get bigger, if that makes any sense. It's weird. He's still dropping projects. He's so persistent and consistent, and I just don't see what's not to like about him. I think he's really dope. Really dope MC. He's always saying some cool shit. Talib Kweli and Madlib's Liberation. I believe this came out in 2006. It says 2000. I want to say it's 2006 though. Talib Kweli is man, dude. I wish Talib Kweli would do more albums like this, because Madlib's beats on here with Talib's vocals are fucking so dope. It's a short project. It only runs 9 songs, about 30 minutes, I believe, or something like that. But it's just awesome, man. Great collabo. A collabo that I remember when this first came out, and I was just shocked at it. I was like, Talib and Madlib, I'm like, that's dope. That's really dope. I know, like, Talib Kweli, and I knew Madlib from even back in the 90s and shit like that. So I guess it wasn't that surprising that they end up doing a project together. But I like to see them work together more. I know they've done other songs and stuff, but this is really dope. I really enjoy that shit. Then we're moving along into Remedy's debut album, The Genuine Article. I know a lot of people remember Remedy from the Swarm, Volume 1, the Wu-Tang Swarm compilation, with the song Never Again, basically about the Holocaust and stuff, because Remedy himself's a Jewish MC. This is a debut album in 2001. He pretty much produced this album himself, I believe, with the exception of a couple. I think the Fourth Disciple produces on here also. It's pretty good, man. There's a lot of dope tracks on here, man. I think Education, the first track with the Riz, is really dope on here. Fallen Angels is cool. The beat on White Boy on this album is terrible, though, man. That's a terrible song. It's really bad. But for the most part, man, it's not like crazy Wu-Tang affiliate sounding, but it does have the moments and kind of bursts of Wu-Tang-ish. But Remedy's a dope MC, man. You know, he kind of like disappeared. I know he dropped a couple more albums after this and stuff, but yeah, Remedy, the Genuine Article. I'm just happy to grab it. Grabbed it for a couple bucks a long time ago, but yeah. So getting into some fucking Parental Advisory, man. This album came out in 1998. Yeah, 1998. Straight No Chase. This is about 5 years after Ghetto Street Funk came out. So I mean, really in the 90s. I mean, from Ghetto Street Funk, you know, like Lifeline and stuff that was on the CB4 soundtrack. I know the remix was on the album. That Parental Advisory from 1993 is a lot fucking different than you're getting in 98. And I'll show another album here in a minute from 2000. It's like night and day with all these records, because obviously 93 sound to 98 is just, it's like it's a whole generation apart kind of thing. This is dope though, man. It actually sounds very West Coast influenced, mixed in with kind of that early Southern sound. Parental Advisory being from College Park, Georgia. And they don't rap as fast as they did on their first record too, so a little bit different. It's very drug influenced. A lot of the songs have to do with drugs and partying and stuff like that in here. So the content is what it is, but it's fucking dope, man. I love this record. It's like super fun. It has lots of good flavors and shit, and it hits hard, man. There's a lot of beats on here that just fucking pound in the system, man. So Straight No Chase, really enjoyed that record. Then you got their last album that came out in 2000, which is called My Life Your Entertainment. Put on DreamWorks. I don't know the DreamWorks, but yeah. So this one came out in 2000, like 2 years later. So they resurrected after 5 years, dropped 2 albums in a couple years, and then just disappeared again. I don't really know what happened to Parental Advisory. This one right here is very much more diving into that typical kind of Southern sound. But with that said, though, this is still really good, man. This is really, really dope. I think there's a lot of... I mean, this one pounds like shit, too, man. It's got a lot of features from Goody Mob members on different songs. It does have 8-Ball on here. There's a song here with Noriega, Pimp C, Big Gip of Goody Mob, Cujo from Goody Mob's on here, I believe. CeeLo's on another song from Goody Mob, Young Bloods. A little bit more Southern sounding, but awesome. I think there's a lot of great tracks on here. These are very entertaining albums. So, and then Parental Advisory just kind of disappeared, man. I really don't know what happened to these cats, but it's kind of a shame. I'd like to hear what they would have done, you know, within 2000 to 2020. I don't know. It's kind of interesting because all their albums are so different sounding, but yeah. So a couple Parental Advisory signs. Staying down in the South, specifically Nashville with my boy Haystack. I know Jason's laughing because every time I say Haystack, he laughs. This is Haystack's 3rd album, I want to say. No, maybe it's his 4th album. No, this is his 4th album. So his first album was, you know, Mac Million. This is kind of like a sequel to it. It's more or less more Haystack. You know, it's he's a great storyteller. I really like his voice. I know a lot of people that probably don't really care for it, but he just kind of stays super low key for a guy that's been putting out albums for like 22 years. You know, he's got like 15 albums out or something like crazy shit. He doesn't do a lot of features. He doesn't have a lot of people featured on his albums. You know, his production always stays pretty solid. It's, you know, it's Southern, but it's kind of got this like Nashville twist. It's interesting. He just doesn't really get a lot of recognition. I don't know if a lot of people know about this guy or just don't care for him because his name is Haystack and he's white and he's from Nashville. It sounds kind of corny, but I think he's really dope, man. I've always been a fan of this guy since I found him in 2000. His album Car Full of White Boys is this album that I found out. I remember I was in Vancouver and I found it at a pawn shop, actually. So I had to pick it up because I started laughing when I saw the name Haystack. I was like, I gotta have that shit. It's hilarious. So, but I've been a fan ever since, and I think I'm missing 1 or 2 projects. That's it. 1 or 2 that are really hard to find, but dope, man. I really, you know, I hope people get up on that guy, man. I mean, he's obviously been doing something right because he's put out so many albums over time, and so he must have a fan base, but yeah. Then we got People Without Shoes. This was a release that came out in 2016 on his label 5 for 20 Records. Now, the story is with this album is that this one was actually recorded. Some of these tracks were recorded before Thoughts of an Optimist and after. So Thoughts of an Optimist came out, I believe, in 1995. So I think the recordings here are like 93, 94, and like 96-ish kind of thing. And then it compiles this 15-track kind of rare demo tapes. Like literally, I think the songs are actually taken from tapes and stuff on here. And it's called Optimistically Speaking. If you're a fan of Thoughts of an Optimist, then you're probably going to enjoy this. Pretty much like all the People Without Shoes stuff because it's very similar and it's dope. And yeah, so check it out. I know that he was signing, I think if you ordered one of the first 100 or something, he was signing these or some shit. I can't remember. But yeah, People Without Shoes, awesome stuff. Yeah. Moving along here, man, into All Natural's debut album. 98? Yeah, I think this album came out in 1998. You know, Capital D and stuff. Cap D. Actually, you'll see a bunch more Cap D stuff I've picked up over the last couple years and shit. If I have not updated already, I don't know. But All Natural's first album. This is the reissue. This is the reissue from 2002, I believe. Yeah, because the original one has from 98. Has a different cover. Yeah, this is the reissue because it's got the bonus tracks and stuff. You know, Cap D did a bunch of production on here. Of course, Panic from the Mole Man. No ID does production on here and stuff. But this is just some great kind of Chicago underground hip hop, man. It's good shit. I really enjoyed All Natural. In fact, I pretty much enjoyed everything that they've done. Cap D's hit and miss with me on his solo records. I actually have an album I'll update sometime I just listened to the other day, and I was like, man, it's kind of boring. But yeah, no, I think Cap D now works as a vice president for the fucking Golden State Warriors or some shit like that. So it's crazy. What a jump, man. Like from doing, hip hop albums to being a bigwig in a professional team. It's kind of crazy. So, but All Natural, good shit, man. Moving along. RBL Posse, Lesson to Be Learned from 1992. Not my favorite album, man. I really liked their album that they did before this, man. Or did after this album. Ruthless by Law. That album's dope, man. It's got so many dope tracks in it. This one, it's kind of funny when you listen to it all these years later. Like, a lot of the samples used in this album have been used to death and shit like that. But I still love Don't Give Me No Bammer, man. That song is dope. But, overall, it's a decent album. In 1992, when this came out, it must have been... I'd actually never heard this album. I'd heard RBL Posse's second album before this one. So I was very used to that one. When that one dropped, I believe, in 93 or 94. And, yeah, so I had to go back and check this one out. But I never owned a copy until the last few years of this. So, but it's okay. It's okay for what it is. But, yeah, I do like the stuff. Rest in peace to Mr. C also. Yeah, so moving along. The P Brothers, The Gas. Now, I remember when this album dropped in 1998. In 2008, man, I was a mod on the underground hip hop forums, and this album just went ballistic, man. When it dropped, everyone was just freaking out about it. It was sold out. It was really hard to find and shit like that. And I completely forgot about it after years. And I was just kind of going through some of my old books and stuff, and I used to write in albums that I wanted and stuff, and I came across it, and I was like, P Brothers, The Gas. I'm like, fuck, I need to check that out, or I need to find a copy. Looked up on Discogs, because the only place I could find one, and I got it for $6 or $7, and I was like, that's crazy. So yeah, basically what it is, P Brothers production team, producer album, MCs. It's got about 10-12 songs on here. It's got Boss Money, Milano, Rock Marciano, Res Connected, and Sam Hill on here. So that's basically the lineup. Holy man, that glare. It's almost embarrassing. Dude. But yeah, the P Brothers, The Gas. This is awesome. Every song on here just pounds. It's got a great vibe to it. I highly recommend this shit, man. If you can see that album cover, it's really dope. It's kind of got this alien face on it. It's cool. But dope album. Next up, we've got a couple Lone Catalyst albums here. This is the original 2000 release. I know this was released in 2001 with a different cover. This is the original one I just lucked out and got. I got this for a couple bucks, but J Rawls and Jay Sands group. Some really, really dope underground hip-hop, man. I've always been a big fan of J Rawls, man. I love J Rawls. Jay Sands dope, but J Rawls is my shit. Yeah, man. These guys always put out so much good stuff. Debut record, but yeah. Love the fucking hip-hop, man. It's just so dope. Yeah. Awesome shit. And then we got this other one, Lone Catalyst, the Catalyst Files, which is basically a compilation album of unreleased, remixed, and just kind of hard to find gems and things like that, 12-inch B-sides and singles and things like that they hadn't released on hip-hop. It's kind of more or less around that time period and stuff. So, yeah, it's good shit though, man. The track listing's totally jacked up on the back. I think on all these releases, the track listing's all fucked up and shit. So, but again, really good stuff. So many good tracks on here. Couldn't recommend that one enough. Into the last two here, we got Ego Trips, The Big Payback, the soundtrack to Ego Trips' book of rap lists. I'm sure if you're watching this video, you're familiar with the Ego Trips book that came out, I believe, in 99-2000. Yeah, because it goes up to 1999, and it's just it's a book of rap lists and stuff. Best albums of every year, trivia, a whole pile of stuff. It's like a Bible to me. I've read that book 1,000 times. I absolutely love it. But this is more or less just kind of a throwback soundtrack for it. It's got Divine Force on here, Marley Marl, MC Shan, Get Retarded. What else? Grandmaster Cash is on here. Positive K. Latif, man, Ultimate Force, which is Diamond D's first group, which is really dope. The Alliance is on here, which I actually just grabbed vinyl. Lines from '88. Yeah, it's old school jams, man. It's old school jams. So if you're into that type of shit, which I'm heavily into, I love the 80s so much. But yeah, that's cool. So the soundtrack to the book. And finally, another female MC, which I'm sure Jay just turned off the video right now, with The Real Roxanne. Now, this album right here is always interesting because I always thought that this album came out a little bit too late. You know, with her work with UTFO, The Real Roxanne, like all that type of shit that was happening in like 84, 85, 86 and stuff. And then her album finally came out in 88. It was produced by Jam Master Jay, Howie T, who'd done work with Chubb Rock in 88 also, which is a fantastic album, I might say. I actually just picked that up on vinyl too. Full Force is on here, LA Posse for production and stuff. The production's great, man. For the most part, I think Roxanne's on a Roll is a great song by Jam Master Jay does the production on that and stuff. Infatuated is kind of cheeseball. There's a couple cheesy songs, but I actually like The Real Roxanne, man. She's got a really good personality. She can flow well. The beats fit her. But I just feel like it came out too late. I think if it had came out a couple years earlier in the midst of that whole UTFO, Roxanne Shante, like all that, you know, all that shit that was going on, I think this would have done a lot better. But yeah, so The Real Roxanne, cool shit. And that is it for this update. Wow, I managed to keep it around 30 minutes. That's crazy. That was my goal. Try to keep these things around 30 minutes and shit. If you guys can hear the beats that are playing in the background, it is Jay Dilla's Dillatronic. Yeah, so beats, which it is pretty low, so I don't know if you guys can hear that. But yeah, no, that's gonna do it for the update. I'll try to do more and more of these, man, because I just have like literally hundreds of album CDs. I think I might just do an all cassette one because I got about 20 tapes that I could just update in a quick update, and then vinyl is just out of control. I don't even know where to start with that too. So, but as for the CDs, I want to start knocking these out so I can get all the shit put away, because I just built more shelves, moved around this room, built a whole pile of more shelves because the collection is just it's just getting so damn big all the time and shit. So, but it is what it is. That's what happens when you're finding albums for like $1 now. It's kind of cool that the resurgence of vinyl, everyone's into vinyl. The CD prices have kind of dropped on a lot of these albums that I was looking for and shit. These hard to find ones and stuff. So that's pretty cool that I'm getting those for a lot cheaper and stuff, because to me, if I can find an album on CD, tape, vinyl, whatever I don't have, it's fine. I still have a copy. I don't care what format it is really. But yeah, so that's going to do it, guys. Check you guys in the next one. And as usual, deuces.